Most travelers believe TSA only stops you when you clearly break a rule. If your bag fits, your liquids are packed, and you've flown with the same carry-on for years, you assume you're safe. But in 2026, that assumption is catching people off guard. Bags are being flagged even when travelers are confident they followed every rule exactly as before. What makes this situation confusing is the silence. There are no loud announcements inside airports, no clear signs saying carry-on enforcement has changed, no warnings before your bag is pulled aside or stopped at the gate. For many people, the experience feels sudden and random. They travel with the same bag, pack the same way, and yet one trip goes smoothly while the next ends with a delay, a fee, or a forced check-in. This isn't because travelers suddenly became careless, and it's not because TSA quietly created brand new rules overnight. The real change is enforcement. In 2026, existing rules are being applied more precisely and more consistently than before. Airlines and security are relying less on human judgment and more on automated systems that don't allow flexibility or exceptions. That's why many travelers don't get a warning or a second chance. Once a bag is flagged, the decision is often already made. This video isn't based on rumors or exaggerated stories. It's based on real, documented enforcement changes that are already affecting travelers. By the end, you'll understand why bags are being flagged, what exactly triggers it, and how you can avoid getting caught by these silent changes.
Big misunderstandings. Rules changed versus enforcement changed. One of the biggest misunderstandings in 2026 is the belief that carry-on rules suddenly changed. For most travelers, that's not true. The size limits, liquid rules, and item restrictions have existed for years. What changed is not the rule book, but how strictly those rules are now being applied at airports. For a long time, enforcement depended heavily on human judgment. If a bag was slightly over the limit but looked manageable, it often passed. If a wheel or handle pushed the size by a small amount, staff might overlook it. That flexibility quietly trained travelers to believe their bag was approved, even if it was never perfectly compliant. Now that flexibility is mostly gone. Airlines and security are enforcing the rules with precision. Bags are measured exactly as written, not as they appear. Wheels, handles, side pockets, and expanded sections all count. Automated sizing frames and scanners don't negotiate, and staff are expected to follow their results. This matters because travelers prepare for written rules, not enforcement behavior. People check size limits online, pack accordingly, and assume past experience is proof they're compliant. But a bag that was allowed for years can suddenly be rejected, even though nothing about the bag itself changed. The key thing to understand is this: 2026 isn't about flexibility anymore, it's about precision. If a bag doesn't meet the exact requirements, it can be flagged, even if it always worked before.
Why TSA and airlines don't warn you anymore. One of the most confusing parts for travelers is the lack of warnings. People expect signs, announcements, or at least a heads up when something important changes. But in 2026, that warning rarely comes. The reason is simple. From the perspective of TSA and airlines, the rules are already published. They exist on websites, booking pages, and ticket terms. Because of that, airports don't see a need to remind passengers again at the terminal. Over time, responsibility has quietly shifted to the traveler. If a bag is oversized, overweight, or contains something questionable, the assumption is that the passenger should already know. This is why enforcement feels sudden. There's no countdown, no grace period, and no explanation beyond "this doesn't meet requirements." Another major source of confusion is the split between TSA and airlines. Passing security does not mean your bag is approved for the aircraft cabin. TSA's job is safety. Airline staff care about space, weight, and boarding efficiency. These are two different checks with two different priorities. A bag can clear TSA perfectly and still be stopped at the gate minutes later.
At the gate, staff are under pressure to board quickly and avoid delays. If a carry-on looks bulky, slow to stow, or likely to cause problems in overhead bins, it can be flagged instantly. There's no debate and usually no explanation beyond a brief instruction to check it. That's why silence at the airport is misleading. Just because no one stops you early doesn't mean everything is fine. In 2026, silence does not mean approval. Carry-on size, the detail people miss. One of the most common reasons travelers get flagged in 2026 is carry-on size, and this is where a lot of confusion comes in. Technically, the size limits haven't changed. Most airlines still allow carry-ons around 22 by 14 by 9 inches, and the TSA hasn't updated the official limits. The problem isn't the rule itself, it's how it's being measured now. Every part of the bag counts, including areas travelers often ignore. Wheels, handles, and front pockets all add to the total dimensions. A bag that seemed to fit under the old informal checks can now be over the limit once these parts are included. Soft-sided bags are especially tricky. They may look small when empty, but once packed, they expand and bulge beyond the frame. That extra inch or two is enough to get flagged. Airports are increasingly using automated sizing frames and scanners. These tools measure your bag precisely and leave little room for human judgment. A staff member can no longer eyeball a bag and pass it if it looks manageable. If the bag doesn't fit perfectly into the frame, it's automatically flagged. This explains why many travelers are surprised. Bags that have flown for years without issue suddenly fail the size check. The dimensions haven't changed, but the enforcement method has become exact. In 2026, a carry-on isn't just about fitting in the bin, it's about fitting the measurement frame precisely, or it may not make it onto the plane. Weight limits, the quiet enforcement. Another area that often surprises travelers is carry-on weight, which has always existed but was rarely enforced. Many airlines have had weight limits for years, typically around 15 to 22 pounds, depending on the carrier. In the past, staff often overlooked slightly heavier bags as long as they fit in the overhead bin. Travelers got used to assuming, if it fits, it's fine, and packed accordingly. In 2026, that leniency is disappearing. Random weighing of carry-ons is becoming more common, particularly on international flights where aircraft balance and safety regulations are stricter. Gate staff now have portable scales and instructions to check bags that look heavy or overpacked. Even small overages can result in a bag being flagged or requiring a fee to gate check it. The reasons for this strictness are practical. Carry-on weight affects the overall balance of the aircraft, especially when multiple bags are distributed unevenly in the cabin. It also impacts boarding speed. Heavier or awkward bags slow down stowing and can cause delays. Travelers who continue to rely on the old mindset of "it fits, so it's fine" are often caught off guard. In 2026, weight matters as much as size, and ignoring it can lead to unexpected fees or delays at the gate. Smart luggage and battery rules. Another major reason carry-ons get flagged in 2026 is smart luggage and battery rules, which have caught many travelers by surprise. Bags with built-in batteries, like some smart suitcases with chargers or GPS trackers, are now a strict concern. The key rule is that these batteries must be removable. If they aren't, the bag can be flagged or even confiscated because of safety regulations. Power banks and other portable batteries also fall under tighter scrutiny. Their size, capacity, and labeling matter. Oversized batteries or unmarked devices can trigger immediate attention at security or the gate. TSA and airlines take these rules very seriously because of fire risk policies. Lithium-ion batteries can catch fire, and even a single violation is enough for staff to intervene without discussion. Many travelers assume that if a product is sold online, it's automatically allowed on a plane. Unfortunately, that isn't true. Just because a smart bag or battery is widely available doesn't mean it complies with airline or TSA policies. In 2026, enforcement is strict, and these items are one of the fastest ways to have a bag flagged, delayed, or removed entirely. Items that trigger extra screening. In 2026, several everyday items can trigger extra screening, often catching travelers off guard.
powders like protein supplements, baby formula, or other powdered foods are now scrutinized more closely. Even small amounts can lead to your bag being pulled aside for inspection. Aerosols that exceed the allowed 3.4-ounce limit, such as deodorants or sprays, are another common reason for manual checks. Dense clusters of electronics, like multiple laptops, tablets, chargers, or camera equipment packed tightly together, can also appear suspicious to scanners. Unlabeled containers, whether liquids, gels, or other substances, raise similar concerns. Even common food items, especially when packed tightly or layered with other products, can trigger an extra look. It's important to understand that being flagged doesn't mean an item is illegal. A flag simply indicates that your bag needs manual inspection to ensure safety compliance. In 2026, even familiar items can slow down your boarding if they are packed in a way that triggers these checks, so careful organization and labeling are key to avoiding surprises. New scanning technology, why it feels random. Another factor that makes carry-on enforcement feel unpredictable in 2026 is the new scanning technology. Airports are increasingly using AI-assisted scanners that can detect the density of items, spot unusual shapes, and highlight potential risks automatically. Unlike human screeners, these machines give no benefit of the doubt. If the scanner detects something outside expected parameters, the bag is flagged instantly. This explains why two seemingly identical bags can get different outcomes. The packing layout matters. How items are stacked, overlapping electronics, or compressed powders can all trigger the scanner. Even small differences in how a bag is arranged can lead to one bag being approved and another pulled aside. The key idea to understand is that the machine doesn't know your intent. It only measures what's inside the bag and how it compares to safety parameters. In 2026, even careful travelers can be caught off guard if their packing inadvertently triggers these precise automated checks.
Gate versus security. Two different judgments. Another source of confusion for travelers in 2026 is the difference between TSA security checks and airline gate checks. Many assume that if TSA clears their bag at the checkpoint, it's automatically allowed on the plane. That's not always the case. TSA's responsibility is purely safety. They ensure nothing dangerous passes through security. Airlines, on the other hand, control what goes into the cabin. Their concerns include overhead bin space, boarding efficiency, and the overall balance of the aircraft. This means a bag can pass through TSA without issue, but still be flagged at the gate. Last-minute gate checking is common when staff determine that a bag is too bulky, too heavy, or simply won't fit efficiently in the cabin. Factors like the type of aircraft, the number of passengers, and how full the bins are all influence these decisions. In 2026, understanding this distinction is crucial. Passing security doesn't guarantee a smooth boarding experience. Gate staff have the final say on whether a bag can stay in the cabin, and their judgments are often immediate and non-negotiable. Travelers need to account for both safety and space regulations to avoid surprises at the gate.
How to avoid being flagged in 2026? Avoiding being flagged in 2026 requires planning and attention to detail. The first step is to measure your bag with a hard frame. Make sure you include wheels, handles, and any protruding pockets in the measurement. This ensures your bag truly meets airline size requirements and won't be unexpectedly rejected at the gate. Next, avoid expandable or soft-sided bags that can bulge once packed. A bag that looks small when empty can easily expand beyond the limits when full, triggering automated sizing frames. Choosing a rigid or structured bag helps maintain precise dimensions. If your bag contains electronics, chargers, or smart features, remove non-essential batteries. Built-in or oversized batteries are one of the fastest ways for a bag to get flagged. Power banks should be within allowed size limits and properly labeled. When packing liquids and powders, keep them separate in clear, labeled containers. This makes it easier for security staff to inspect without pulling your entire bag apart and reducing the chance of delays. Avoid overpacking just in case, as extra items increase weight and bulk, which can also trigger checks. Keep your bag visually compact. A neatly packed, organized carry-on not only fits better, but also signals to gate staff that it will be easy to stow. Finally, always check airline-specific limits before travel. Different carriers have slightly different size and weight rules, and being aware of these in advance helps prevent surprises. Following these steps carefully can significantly reduce the chance of your bag being flagged in 2026.
Final wrap-up. Awareness, not fear. As we wrap up, it's important to remember that TSA isn't targeting travelers personally. The system is designed to enforce safety and efficiency, not to catch people out. What has changed in 2026 is simply the level of precision and consistency in enforcement.
Rules that may have been loosely applied before are now followed strictly, and automated systems leave little room for exceptions. Understanding this helps take the fear out of travel and replaces it with awareness. The key takeaway is simple. Most people lose items not because they intentionally break rules, but because they assume their bag will automatically be fine. That assumption, even with years of travel experience, can lead to unexpected fees, delays, or last-minute gate checking. Being aware, double-checking your bag's size, weight, and contents, and following the guidelines carefully is the best way to avoid issues. If you found this guide useful, consider liking the video and subscribing for more practical travel tips. And share your own experiences in the comments. Your insights could help other travelers navigate these new 2026 carry-on rules more confidently. Awareness, preparation, and careful packing are all you need to travel smoothly, without surprises at the gate.